So I have a handy little tip for newer players. It's never a bad idea to go around your city and check all the merchants for kind of items that might be worth more gold than the merchants are charging for them. For instance, this chess piece here, a high level player has sold this to this merchant, and it only costs 17 platinum, but I'm fairly confident I can get at least 50 for it. So even though it's all the money I have, I'm going to buy it and try and flip it in the East Commonlands. So with that being said, you can imagine what today's episode is about. We are going to take that fabulous journey from Cabilis to the East Commonlands tunnel. And without a sew, well, I started with a sew, but it ran out not long into the journey. So, yeah, I packed my bags with all the silk and bone chips that I'd collected while leveling from 1 to 8, amongst some other things that I was going to try and flip. And we're going to head out. Starting in Wassless Woods. There are a few ways you can go about it, but for an XR, I'm pretty sure this is the only feasible way this low. And I'm not going to lie, this section of the trip is probably the hardest. Wassless Woods is really hard to navigate through without a levitate. But, you know, just be cautious. Try and get Spirit of Wolf when you make your way through, and you should be able to kind of fumble your way to the zone line like I did. That brings us into the over there. The zone's pretty simple. You just come out here, you see the big awesome Ixar statue, turn right, run along that zone wall until you get to the ocean, and then turn left at the ocean and then run along the shore until you get to a big wall. If you're an evil race, you could probably go through the outpost there, like ogres, and I'm pretty sure it's mainly dark elf based faction. So anyone who's kind of cool with Dark Elves should be right to go in there, but I'm an Ixar, and everyone hates Ixars, so if you're like me, just run along the shore like you see here, and you'll see a wall, and you kind of jump in the water, and you swim around the wall up to the dock. Now you gotta wait for the boat. Boat takes like fucking half an hour, pain in the ass. You can kind of sometimes swim under it and fluke your way up through the bottom and onto the boat, because if you're an XR you can't run along the dock, like you just get chunked by the dude standing on the dock if you're low level anyway. But your best bet is to find some dude that's chilling out in over there to give you a levitate, and you just run up onto the shore and levitate onto the boat, because I fluked it a couple times by swimming under it, but this time I couldn't get it, and it took me like 3 go. I tried it like 3 times, and that's like I said before, the boat comes like, it takes over half an hour each trip, so I try it and I fail and I have to wait half an hour. So I was sitting there for like an hour and a half just trying to get onto the stupid thing, and I ended up just asking some dude for a levitate, which was much easier. So now that you're finally on the boat, you got to sit there for half an hour while it makes the trip. If you're lucky enough to have some people on the boat with you, you can kind of talk shit to pass the time, which is what I did. So the boat pulls up at the ogre village, run off, dodging the ogres, because again, they hate you, because you're a lizard. Levitate helps, but is not required. And you kind of just run straight along here, keep this wall to your left, and you're looking for a raft on the shoreline over here. And even this thing can take 10 or 15 minutes to get here, so jump on that. It will take you to the oasis, where when you get to the docks, you turn right and run along the shoreline. In this game, the crocodiles will con aggressive, but that's wrong. They're actually indifferent. They're passive. They won't aggro you, so don't worry about that like I did. So you just keep running along the shore here until you zone into North Row, and keep a lookout for sand giants, especially Cazil, because they like to patrol along the shore there, and they will one-shot you, bastard. So now we're in North Row. You kind of run along the shore still. I'm seeing a pattern emerge here. You can either go all the way up until the desert turns to grass, and then turn left along there, but then you kind of got to contend with human guards that might aggro you. Or you can run until you see the dervish camp, which you just saw me pass there. Dervishes surprisingly don't aggro Ixars. They're actually friendly to them. So you can run along there, and you just kind of turn left and run across the zone, and you'll find the tunnel entrance, which will lead you into the East Commonlands. Woo! Alright, so we're finally here. First thing you probably should do if you're thinking about spending any amount of time here is go into Freeport and get yourself a bind. I tried to bind myself in the tunnel because I thought you could, provided you find someone that can cast it on you. But people who can bind can only bind themselves anywhere. If you're not a class that can bind yourself, you have to be bound in certain areas, towns or cities. And I tried a few places in the tunnel, none of them worked, so I just ended up running into West Freeport and got a bind at the zone line. And the reason a bind is important is because if you die at any point without being bound here, you're going to spawn all the way back at Cabilis, and you're going to have to do that whole run again, naked. So, kind of want to avoid that. Now that you're in East Commonlands, you might want to make a new chat window and filter it so that all auctions show up in it and only auctions show up in it. Because, as you can see, you get a lot of auction traffic, dialogue, whatever you want to call it, when you're sitting in this zone. Just that's what this zone is for trading. Okay, so here you can see me selling that breastplate I bought for 17 platinum. I flipped it, pretty much it sold instantly for 50 plat. So that was a good deal to kind of get me situated. Then I found this really nice druid who used my silk and crafted me pretty much a whole set of cured silk. I just got the specific pieces that I needed, but he didn't charge me any extra money or anything. He just, he used the silk, and there were a few extra ingredients that were required that needed brewing, but he could also brew, and he did it all for free. So thanks a lot to Nissa for doing that for me. So now I'm not running around naked anymore. I actually have some armor that looks pretty cool, I think. So now that you got some decent armor, hopefully you can find a few buffs in the tunnel from some high level players who are just chilling, and then what you want to do is go out into the Commonlands and start killing bears and lions and wolves, pretty much anything really along the grass. The zone is a massive rectangle, and you just kind of it's divided into grass on one side and sand on the other, and the mobs just walk back and forth up and down the grass. So one thing to look out for, I guess, is griffins will spawn and wander along as well. So you got to keep an eye out for them because they are hostile and they're like level 40 or so, and they will kill you. Also, if you're an exile, look out for the human guards. There's one guard or two guards that will patrol. It's a little house in the background. They kind of patrol between the houses along the zone. But yeah, what you want to do here is you just kind of farm these animals, and they'll drop pelts. And there's three different kinds. There's low quality, medium quality, and high quality. Now, the low and mediums usually sell between 2 and 5 platinum each, but the high qualities will sell like between 20 and 25. So here you can see me, this guy is buying a whole bunch of pelts off me, and this gave me another good boost. I think I got like 40 plat for a bunch of low quality pelts and like a high quality cat pelt. And then he also bought a whole bunch of that silk. Remember from my previous video I was farming silk. Turns out that the spiderling silk sells for 1 platinum per silk, so it's 20 platinum a stack. So I got a good deal of money from all that because I had like 16 stacks of it. And then there's high quality bear skins. These are pretty much the best. They're the most sought after. They sell most commonly 20 platinum each, but some people paid 25, like this guy just bought 2 of them for 25 plat each. They're used to make handmade backpacks, which you can actually see me buying right here. They're 10 slot bags and they have a little bit of weight reduction on them, so they're really cool. And they usually sell for, some people try and flog them off for over 100, but I just bought that one for 65. I've seen people sell them between 60 and 70. They're usually the most common price. Then, thanks to all the trading and selling, I was able to afford 2 Master Wu Trent sticks. I picked them up for 200 plat each, and yeah, they're really decent weapons, especially as low as I am. So yeah, I'm very happy with that turnout. So now that we got some good weapons and some decent armor, time to start leveling. East Commonlands is actually a fairly decent place to level. Between I'd say 8 is when I came here, and 12 is probably when you want to start looking at leaving. But one of the best ways is just to get an orc group. There's 2 camps of orcs in the zone along the back wall, the grass side. They're called Orc 1 and Orc 2. Orc 1's usually the most common because it's bigger, But yeah, you'll see people looking for more Orc 1 or Orc 2, and you go and you join them and you grind Orcs. Good XP. You pretty much only can go there till 12 before you want to start leaving. But once you get to, say, 10 or maybe even higher, 10's probably good. If you go and grab some buffs, if there's a nice chamois or whatever, if you beg them for some buffs in the tunnel, you can then go into West Commonlands, which is just the next zone over. It's right near the Orc 2 camp, and there's some high level bears and snakes and spiders out there, and will-o-wisps that you can then start farming, and they give a decent XP. I was actually getting super fast XP when I had full chamois buffs just by farming in West Commonlands, killing bears and spiders and snakes and stuff. It was really, really fast. It was great. But a warning with the will-o-wisps: you will need magic weapons. Same with ghouls. Generally, most undead except skeletons, like I know mummies and zombies, I believe, also are the same. You need a magic weapon to be able to hit them. So if your weapons aren't magic, it'll say magic item, then they'll be immune to your attacks, and you won't have a nice time. And also, if you're a monk like me, or anything else that can kick, when you kick, if your shoes or the item on your feet are not magic, then your kicks will also not work. They'll be immune to your kick. So that's just another thing to kind of keep in mind if you're looking at farming or leveling up by killing will-o-wisps or ghouls or mummies or zombies. Alright, so I thought I should demonstrate the usefulness of sneak. So now that I'm in East Commonlands, it is kind of hard for me to sell and buy food and all that stuff, but because I'm a monk and I have sneak, oh, there we go, works straight away. So see how, well, that's a bad example, but so she still cons dubiously and won't sell to me from the front. It's not enough that you've ruined our lands, Ixar, blah blah blah, now get lost. Okay, but if you go behind her indifferently, bam, now she's gonna sell. Yeah. I like to just, because they face you when you sell, I don't think this makes a difference, but I don't know, I'm just OCD, but I just walk behind her anyway, just in case it has some price hits on her being dubious from the front and indifferently from the back. I don't, it probably doesn't, but that's just me. So there you go. If you're an Ixar and you have sneak, or any class that can't sell here, and you have sneak, it's a good way to, you can go buy bandages. They sell food, drink. There's even a Fletcher in the other building. So yeah, I just wish they sold throwing knives. I haven't been able to find any of those yet, but I'm sure they're around somewhere. Yeah, even small sewing kits. So if you want to start sewing for some reason out in the middle of nowhere, you can. Oh, I should also mention this same trick works for handing in quests, or it should. If you can't hand in a quest because someone doesn't like you, and you can go in sneak and go behind them and hand it in, then they should accept it. Same with training. If there's a trainer and you need to train with them, I think it should also work, but I'm not sure yet. Once I get feigned death, I can actually start trying shit out like that, because I can run into the human area. When they aggro me, I'll feign death, wait till they reset, and then I'll sneak and then try and train. So, but yeah, I'm not 17 yet, but I'm pretty sure it works. So just over here by the West Commonlands zone line to Freeport, this chick here sells throwing weapons. So if you're a monk and you can sneak, this is also a really good way to get rid of any scrap change you might have that you might be carrying that's weighing you down, because every time you buy something from a vendor, it'll always use your lowest value coin first. So it'll take your copper and then your silver and then your gold and then finally your platinum last. So you need to get rid of coins, buy a whole bunch of bandages. So that'll do it for this week, folks. That was the East Commonlands. Great place to go to. Good for between level 8 and 12. Lots of nice people. Always keep an eye out on your auctions if you see a deal that's really good and you think you could make money off it. You'll sometimes get some really nice high level dudes that'll come and buff you, and I've even had chamois that'll just sit at an orc group and just constantly buff the group, or enchanters that do the same, and pretty much essentially power level random strangers just because they're chilling in the zone trading and stuff and they have nothing better to do. So yeah, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week.